All right. I didn't think I was going to make a video today. Well, I thought I was going to do one maybe yesterday, or just, saying, hey, heads up, no video. And I also had hoped that maybe I could get some headway done with this interview video. Part of the conversations playlist, whatever. But unfortunately, that computer seems to want to take all damn day to do a video that's not even 40 minutes long. So when I say all damn day, I mean since 6 in the morning, even through now. Excuse me. I can't edit this. I don't have the programs on this computer. The other one is occupied. And I actually feel the need to really produce something. And I'll show you why. So let's start off here. Let's start at the very beginning. So Benjamin Boyce tweeted something. Now, some of you might know what he's talking about. Some of you probably don't. That's okay. Benjamin Boyce tweeted, "I don't want to live in a discriminatory society, but I want to live in a coercively anti-discriminatory society even less. This is why I advocate for dialogue across differences and the unfettered ridicule of authoritarian nonsense." So I responded, "That's a lot more tactful than conceptual James' tweets. In any case, I completely agree. What's the point of peace and cooperation if it's forced? Much like puritanical tyranny, this can only result in generalized cruelty." I'm not going to elaborate on that comment, but I will say that my reference to conceptual James, otherwise known as James Lindsay's tweet, this was about him saying that he would rather live in a society with vestigial, in other words, remnants of racism, than one that is anti-racist, aggressively anti-racist. And so I understand that, because we've seen what the anti-racists are like, especially how they have this. There's a religion involved. It is, well, it's woke. And if you are, they play the intersectional game, and if you don't score high enough with with their intersectional points, well, you've got your original sin, and there's nothing you can do to atone for your original sins. All you can do, the best you can hope for, is to advocate for the power that they want to claim. Now, let's read on. Someone had responded to what I said. They said, "To play devil's advocate, the people who want coercive anti-discrimination believe that if they can get what they want and hold on to it long enough, it will become the new normal," which, again, this is where you might recall me saying a deviation over time becomes the norm over time becomes the rule. So he said, "People will grow used to the new regime and their behavior will change accordingly. They have some evidence for this too. There are people coming of age now who don't remember a world before the coercive anti-piracy and authoritarianism after 9/11. People fear change. It's hard to undo these decisions because they are now the status quo." My response: that's why it's so intolerable. Give it time, unchecked, and they will keep pushing the boundaries. Warming the pot and frogs that we are. We'll just get more comfortable until we are no more. We're also seeing more millennials and Zoomers comfortable with abridging 1A and 2A, which, for those who don't know, that's First Amendment and Second Amendment, otherwise like free speech, freedom of expression, and of course the right to bear arms, which is our leverage against the tyrannical government. Now, I have been getting a lot of responses about this. Like, you mean pushing boundaries like this? Which I'm sure you've seen this kind of a map, right? So they're ticked off that America was created through colonialism, imperialism, and they're like, "We want our land back." My response: I literally don't care. We made territories in constant flux into a developed country. You don't like it, maybe cry about it to Trudeau. In the meanwhile, bugger off. Their response: woman who hates coercive behavior now insists not that coercive behavior. Just get over it. You just blew yourself out of the water with your hypocrisy. My response, this land belongs to the American people, and it's been ours for a long time. Now, I don't care how it was founded. It's our duty to keep it free. But freedom doesn't mean relinquishing ground. They said it was stolen either by force or through lies. Making amends isn't relinquishing anything or committing treason. Making amends is just that, putting shit right. If you think that via violence or fraud is a hill worth dying on, then that's your call and reflects your values. Now, here's my thing, and I've got a lot of responses, and I'm not going to show you all the different responses because it's not that important. What is important is, and let me get back. What is important is the fact that we are seeing a trend. More and more people are supporting this pro-Indigenous peoples. You took their land. You're on their land. And it actually ties into globalism, because if you can look at it as though you're occupying someone else's land, then who are you to tell others that they can't be in your country? And that's just not the case. So this is a country. It actually is a country. It wasn't a country before. We made it a country. Our ancestors made it a country. We developed an infrastructure. We did all the planning. We negotiated trade deals. We increased the quality of life. Life expectancy is much higher. The things are so great now that the poorest among us live as the wealthy did 100 years ago. So obviously, this country that they don't think that we should have a right to have has had a benefit, and not just for us, but for the rest of the world too. We've helped to elevate the standard of living by creating opportunities, and that wouldn't have happened without it being a country, organized. So they have a problem with that, and I've encountered people like this before. Many of them actually think that we need to get off their land. Many of them are identitarians, and some of them, they're not Native Americans, they're white. But they've got this bleeding heart mentality of, we need to pay reparations and get off their land. And what are we supposed to do? Well, I guess their solution, stop breeding. In fact, I see a lot of crap like that on Twitter. And maybe they're trolls. Maybe it's the Russians with bots trying to torment people. Maybe they're trying to troll the right or the left, who doesn't agree with the far left. I don't know. What I do know is that this is my country. I was born here. I was raised here. I love the values. I love the freedom. And I don't care how we got it. It's my country. It's our country. And I'm not going to relinquish it. And we do need to have borders. We absolutely need borders. That's the only way to have a country, is to have borders. Otherwise, well, all your resources are gone. Or they're shared across those boundaries, and there's no accountability. So how's that going to work? It's not. It just falls apart. You need a closed system, and these kinds of people. By the way, one of whom was a commie. Was anyway. I don't want to go on a rant too much, but suffice to say, it really ruffled my feathers. So next topic I wanted to talk about is this. Okay, so let's first look at the article. I'm actually going to see the article. Excuse me. All right, so from the Mirror, and everybody's talking about it. I'm sure you've heard 100 different takes. Many of them, depending on what side of the aisle you sit on, are all the same. What is this? We value your privacy. I accept. I don't care right now. All right, I don't care. Transgender man gives birth to non-binary partner's baby with female sperm donor. All right, I don't think most people even read the article. But let's read the article real quick. But I don't think most people did, because that's not what's important. What's important is the headline. But let's read the article. Proud dad Reuben Sharp today tells how he gave, by the way, you see that in all caps, he gave birth to a miracle baby in Britain's most modern family. The 39-year-old transitioned to a man 12 years ago, but he still had maternal instincts, and 6 years ago stopped taking testosterone in hope of one day having a child. And that dream came true when he and partner Jay had a bouncing baby. Cliches abound. Jay is non-binary, so does not identify as male or female. Of course. The sperm donor was a trans woman, and even the doctor was transgender. And while a handful of other UK men have fallen pregnant after transitioning from a woman, Ruben and Jay are among the first couples to speak out about their remarkable journey. Little Jamie arrived 3 months ago, and the family have just enjoyed the best of Christmases. Beaming with pride, wedding photographer Ruben says, "It's taken 6 years to get this far, but now we have a baby in our arms, and that was the end goal. I finally feel complete. It wasn't that I was so desperate to have the birthing experience or pregnancy experience, but I wanted a child, and I had the facility to do it. Both of our families love kids. I was so glad my family were excited about our baby as they were their other grandkids. The road to parenthood has certainly been long and winding." Ruben explains how he began living as a man in 2007, taking male hormones, which left him with a beard, deep voice, and masculine features. But realizing he wanted a baby, Ruben spoke to a trusted trans doctor about the possibility of falling pregnant. He was reassured it was possible, as he still had his womb and ovaries. So he took a break from his testosterone medicine to enable him to undergo fertility treatment, which is, by the way, the most feminine experience anyone could possibly have. Your body is flooded with female hormones. You feel feminine sensations, the kind of thing that trans women who are on estrogen therapy brag about, saying, "This validates me." But no, when an FTM does it, it's perfectly masculine. Jay, who is referred to as them or they rather than he or she, has had a double breast removal. As the couple grew closer, Ruben broached the topic of pregnancy. He said, "After a few months, I started getting nervous, realizing I was planning to have a kid. I'd been building towards it for 3 years. To this point, I realized I would have to talk to them." I think we've had enough of reading this silly article. Oh, I didn't even show you. Oh, shoot. Well, then you get to see me rubbing my nose. Shit. This is the article I was looking at. I'm so sorry. You got to see me stupidly rubbing my nose on camera, and this is unedited. Great. This is the genuine, real deal. I don't care. All right. I'm ticked off today. I'm very tired. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep from editing last night's video, and it's still not finished processing. But anyway, I digress. We're talking about this. Let's get back to it. This silly article. Okay. And the headline is the most important part because they know no one's going to read this. It's all fluff anyway. There's nothing substantial in it. All it does is try to romanticize the experience. But the headline is "Transgender Man Gives Birth to Non-Binary Partner's Baby with Female Sperm Donor." Now, obviously, they want this to be the modern family. They want you to realize this is normal now, and they want you to accept that by saying it over and over and over and regularly generating this kind of a headline. You get used to it. You get numb to it. You stop reacting to it, so they can't stop. They need to say the most outlandish crap so that you stop reacting. You realize you're beating a dead horse and nothing's going to change. Roll with it, right? That's where they're going with this. Now, I think Candace Owens did say it best when she said, "Woman gives birth to partner's baby with male sperm donor." There, I fixed it for you. Oh, I didn't even show it to you. There you go, see? All right. It's so much easier when you can just edit shit away and just add scenes and all that. But I can't do that right now because I don't have that computer at my disposal. Anyway, so yes, she's right. Now, she's right. You could say she's wrong. I don't care. She is stating a biological fact, which is exactly it. Men can't give birth. It's only with a woman's body that you can give birth, and that's important. And she's trying to shut down the gaslighting. You could say, and that's what people have said to her, you could say, was this even a little bit necessary? I'll show you. Was this even a little bit necessary? Are they affecting your life? These strangers who don't care about your opinion, love, and family are everything. And there's a lot of responses like that. saying, why do you care? It has nothing to do with you. Well, because what's going on is there is a war going on. There's a culture war. There is a war when it comes to language. There are people who are relentlessly trying to change people's minds, change definitions, get people to capitulate to this new order. And so you could say, well, that's their freedom to do so. This freedom of speech, everybody has that right. And absolutely, you are 100% correct. No one has a right to tell you otherwise. But they do have a right to tell you what they think and what they know, and that this is bullshit. It is. They have a right to stand their ground about what they believe, about what language means. Stop changing the definitions of words on people. Stop playing that stupid game. We're not stupid. The rational people aren't stupid. They know what's going on. The only ones who are going to affect are the ones that are on the fence, or the ones that are too young to know better, too young to be rational, to develop that part of their brain that lets them look at something objectively, empirically, and say, that is that. A spade is a spade. And you could say, well, the spade doesn't have to be serve this function. Maybe the spade could have other uses. And that's true. A biological male can serve the same function as a biological female in many capacities, most capacities. That doesn't mean that they can fulfill all roles of a biological female, and they don't need to. But this is what we're looking at, as people saying, no, it is that. A is B. A is not B. A is A. B is B. A and B have share the same common denominators. That's it. It's a culture war. That's all this is. And I'm glad that people are speaking up. You could say that Candace Owens is edgy. And maybe she is. But she's absolutely right on this one. And I support her on this. I'm not going to back down on that one either. Now, there is one more thing for me to show you. And maybe you don't care. Honestly, I don't care either. I came across this. Now, you're probably wondering who the hell is this activist that I've never heard of, Julie Berman. Julie Berman. Where have I heard that name before? Never. I don't live in Kanakistan. I'm sorry, Canada. I don't live in that horrible land where they actually took it to a human rights tribunal about waxing someone's balls because they took that seriously. Yeah, wax my balls, Canada. This is where that kind of crap happens all the time. This is the country where you can shut down a rape relief shelter because they are transphobic. Or at least you can defund them. Yeah. So let's read this silly article. Again, this is going to be a piece that doesn't really tell you much. It is, again, more importantly, the headline says it all. That's all that you need to know. Is the headline. That is your takeaway. Remember, activists who raise awareness about transphobia murdered in Toronto. So a trans rights activist was murdered. Another trans woman was murdered. So you need to just keep that in your head. Another trans woman was murdered. Happened again today. Happened again today. Happened again today. When Julie Berman came up to the mic at the Trans Day of Remembrance event on November 20, 2017, she delivered a speech about transphobia in Toronto. She talked about a trans friend of hers that was murdered. On Sunday, a little over 2 years later, the trans woman and activist was assaulted and murdered. It's really heartbreaking. The same thing that she was trying to be vocal about happened to her, said Davina Hayter, a friend of the victim and a member of the 519, an organization that advocates for the inclusion of LGBT communities, members, and provides services for them. Miss Berman had asked her friend who was filming the vigil in 2017 not to release the clip online. I have that still, and I was thinking about releasing the video, Miss Hayter said. Toronto police said they found Miss Berman on Sunday suffering from head injuries in a residence in Toronto's Brunswick Avenue and Harbour Street area. She was transported to hospital and pronounced dead. Police have charged Colin Harnack, 29, of Toronto, with second-degree murder. The suspect is not a known member of the LGBTQ community, according to Ms. Hayter. Through her activism, Ms. Berman was asking her community members to be more vigilant, Ms. Hayter said in a 2017 event. She was talking about another close friend who had been murdered. It's very emotional. Ms. Berman used to be a hairdresser and was involved for almost 3 decades with community events at the 519. She was struggling to survive as we all do, Ms. Hayter said. It's very unfortunate, very sad. According to a study published in 2015 by Trans Pulse Project that is led by professors in different universities in Ontario, trans people are targets of specifically directed violence. Again, this is what your takeaway should be. This study states that 20% of Ontario's trans people had been physically or sexually assaulted for being trans, and another 34% had been verbally threatened or harassed, but not assaulted. One must ask how many of that percentage were, say, for example, prostitutes, because that's a thing, or had engaged in online communities, fetishist communities, because we know that they don't play fair. I'm not saying the trans women don't, but the ones that tend to mingle with them, I can honestly say men tend to treat trans women as objects. If you're going to be interested in a trans woman, chances are you're going to fetishize them, and you're not going to treat them all dainty and very carefully like you might most women. You're going to look at them as a means to an end, and you might get rough with them. This does happen. And when you're talking about prostitutes, which a lot of us end up becoming prostitutes or otherwise engaging in sex work, this is all the more common. The study noted that many trans people did not report these assaults to the police, but didn't explain why. However, the same study said 24% report having been harassed by police. That why is kind of damn important. I don't know that trans women ever felt safe. That's another takeaway, said Olivia Numa, the executive director of Pride Toronto. For many in the trans community, sadly, violence is a part of life. In the past couple of years, there have been 3 violent deaths in Toronto's trans community. Ms. Nama said, never mind what's going on in North America more broadly. Yeah, North America is actually rather safe. Just go down across the border, especially in South America even, you're going to find a lot of mistreatment because there's an even greater proportion of trans folk, especially trans women, who get into prostitution. It's very, very unfortunate, but once you get into that line of work, well, you're treated like scum, and don't be surprised if you end up dead. Among these fatalities in Toronto was the death of Allura Wells, who died in June. Okay, this is again going on deaths and deaths and deaths. It doesn't. We didn't really get any information, did we? Did you get information from that? Like any real information? All I got was a TRA was murdered by someone who is not LGBT, apparently, at least not active. But do they really need to be? It's incidental. No one cares. But a TRA was murdered, and this happens all the time. Do you need to know any more than that? No, you don't, because that's not what they want you to know. They want to romanticize this person, and they want you to feel sorry. They want to tug on your heartstrings. They want you to feel really, really bad because every single day, yet another one, another notch, another notch in the belt or whatever. Another person has died. Let's light another candle. How many more candles do we have to light? What they're trying to do is they're trying to push a sense of urgency that trans women face, and not just trans women, but I'm sure there's a strong focus on trans women. Trans folk in general, but especially trans women, face an existential threat, and you must fix it. And the only way you can fix it, there's a solution. It's already ready to go. Legislation. Stuff like the Equality Act. Let's make that law. Never mind that there's a lot of nasty shit in the Equality Act. And this isn't just in the US. They've been trying to push it throughout the Western countries. I believe Canada has passed something like that already, but they've got more shit queued up. The UK obviously has more shit queued up, but of course, we know the 2010 Equality Act that they had to deal with has been grossly misinterpreted and led to a lot of abuses. They really want to push this hard. And it's a joint venture by the TRAs and the media. And the media are entirely in on this game of theirs. For what reasons, I'm not entirely sure. I think that there's some 4D chess going on and we don't realize who all is a pawn. And I believe that the TRAs are in fact pawns. It doesn't matter. This kind of legislation is dangerous. If you look what's in there, there's no freedom. It's we have rights and you have rights. And if we're trans, our rights trump yours. 100% they trump yours. You don't get parental rights. You don't even get the basic rights of freedom of speech. You could be prosecuted for discrimination. Like, for example, I'm sure you all know, in Britain, a woman lost, I can't remember, forestater. Her last name was forestater. Maya Forstater lost this case where she was speaking her mind and she was fired from her job because she spoke her mind about her opinion on trans folk. That's her freedom. But with some of this nasty legislation, this anti-discrimination legislation, they would perfectly legalize that kind of shit. They would push it down your throats. You don't have that freedom anymore. You don't have a freedom not to acknowledge someone's pronouns. That is literally violence as far as they're concerned. Furthermore, they would not only make it an option to transition children, they'd make it mandatory because it would be child abuse not to. And we're already seeing this kind of stuff happen throughout the country in the US, but they want to make it uniform. They want to get everybody on the same page. If they can't get it done through Congress, they'll get it done through the courts. One way or the other, they're going to get their way. But in the meanwhile, they're going to keep pushing this narrative, and they're not going to give you the details you need. Context doesn't matter. No, all they need to do is give you just enough information to paint their story. And it's sick. And people are falling for it. A lot of otherwise middle-of-the-road liberals, leftists, some of them actually are liberal, they believe in freedom, are starting to concede some of those freedoms because of justice. Social justice is getting dangerous. So that's why I'm making this video. That's what this is about. I'm ticked off. I'm ticked off most importantly by the left right now. I lean left. I share a lot of the same principles. That barrage of people that ganged up on me for my wanting to keep this a country. Yeah, that's because they're like, well, how dare you not be upset that this country was founded on all this blood? You know, this is bloodland. How dare we take this land from these people? I don't like how we acquired the country. I do like the results. And, you know, obviously, I would be more conscientious. We made a lot of progress in the last few hundred years, actually. We're not allowed to conquer lands anymore. This is a great thing. That was progress. But we're not seceding. We're not going to break off and give chunks of land back to whatever indigenous peoples. That's not going to do anybody any good. As it is, on the reservations, things aren't going so well. They want to run things as they see fit, so be it. But they can't exactly handle their shit. Honestly, I'm not 100% for reservations, but at least I like the theory. Like, you do whatever you want to do on your land, that's fine, so be it. If you want to make your own little communities, so be it. But looking at how they're running it, well, if you look at how some of the reses are run, you don't want to give a sizable chunk, like state sizes, back to native peoples that won't even have any use for it anyway because their numbers are so low. Because to be fair, we bred with them. We outbred everybody, and so now everybody pretty much has Native American ancestry, except Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, she basically has no ancestry. She might have more Asian in her. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm just gonna end this video. I just thought I'd share this little rant or whatever. I'm irked. So I wasn't gonna do a video, but this is a video, and hopefully I'll have a better video for you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have the part 1 of the conversations with Heidi, my sister, actually. But that's all for today, and I will see you later. Bye.